Greetings Exiles, I'm CodRayZeal, and today I'm going to talk about some cool new things you can do with Righteous Fire. Some of these were added in Incursion, some of these were added in Delve, and some of them were added a while ago and improved in Delve. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is Combustion. The Combustion support at level 20 grants minus 19 to fire resistance for enemies that were ignited by supported skills. Now, since most Righteous Fire builds will use elemental equilibrium, we need another way to trigger this. Now, what a lot of people will do is they'll use the Stormfire Opal Ring, which gives us a little bit of extra burning damage when we shock enemies, which is, not impossible, but it's not that much anymore. It used to be a crap ton, but now it's serviceable and it's probably not your best choice for a ring. The reason they'd use this is because your lightning damage can ignite, so you could just put Combustion on your Orb of Storms, and all would be well. But now, when theory crafting this during the Delve League, I came up with another idea, and that was to use a minion along with a Ghastly Eye Jewel that has fire damage. So you would link your minion, in this case Summon Holy Relic, with Combustion and Elemental Proliferation if you can fit it in, and use an Abyss Jewel with minion fire damage. But now, with the introduction of the Summon Holy Relic minion, we now have a reliable minion for just about any Righteous Fire build, because a lot of Righteous Fire builds, their golem will die all the time. So what Holy Relic does is, when we hit something with our melee attack, it releases a little explosion, which if it hits us, it gives us about 100 regen, and if it hits the enemies, it deals some damage to them. So along with the Combustion support and a little bit of fire damage from a jewel, we're able to ignite pretty efficiently most of the time. As you can see, these things are all vulnerable to fire, even those that weren't hit with my shield charge. And that is because Combustion can be proliferated. The main point here is you can use Combustion with a minion and get minus 19% to fire resist. That's more than 6 stacks of Scorching Ray, so worth considering. And in addition to that, the best minion to use it with for most Righteous Fire builds is going to be Holy Relic. Now, in some cases I'd even recommend replacing your Stone Golem with Holy Relic, and that is because Holy Relic can't be targeted by minions directly, so it can only be killed by area of effect, chains, or projectiles. So it's really nice, really reliable, easy to summon, and just overall a great option. You could also use it in conjunction with the Stone Golem and get even more regen. Next up we have the Soul of Arakaali Pantheon. Now, before, this wasn't really that useful for Righteous Fire outside of the reduced damage taken from damage over time. And that was because I don't think many people were crazy enough to turn their Righteous Fire off and then back on again. Like most Righteous Fire builds had like a 1 second cast time on their Righteous Fire, which is just uncomfortable to do every 4 seconds. So the Arachnoxia got largely unused in Righteous Fire builds. Even I wasn't crazy enough to do it. But now, since Delve League, it's possible to instantly cast your Righteous Fire, which means that it's now as simple as 2 button presses and you don't lose any time at all. It's quite easy to get into a combat flow where that is happening. So that is the next point. Try turning your Righteous Fire off and on again. You don't have to do this all the time, you just do it when you need to heal. And that feeds directly into our next point, which is Coruscating Elixir, or Dragon-Jooce. This is useful for energy shield based Righteous Fire builds. So what this flask does is, aside from the standard ruby flask, increase the maximum fire resistance. It gives us chaos damage does not bypass energy shield during effect. Now this wasn't very useful for Righteous Fire before unless you used it in a specific way. And that specific way was to have a life flask running when you used it. So for example, I have this Divination Distillate. I used all the flasks. And now I can use Dragon-Jooce without turning off my Righteous Fire. So that was how I was going to do it. But the thing is, it's easy to make a mistake and turn off your Righteous Fire. So that didn't feel very comfortable before, and I abandoned the build. But now, as of Delve League, since it's instant to cast your Righteous Fire, now it's just a case of when you make a mistake, you just turn it back on. This does allow for the permanent sustaining of Divination Distillate, and you can even stack it up. So as you're getting charges, you're pushing your Divination Distillate and you're stacking it up nice and long. And now I can just use my Coruscating Elixir whenever I feel like it. Great for clearing, and this would have worked, I think, all the way back in, well, when Dragon-Jooce was introduced. This has always been working. Anyway, that is Dragon-Jooce use number 1, or juice number 1. So now we move on to the second part of the Dragon-Jooce, and that is removed life is regenerated as energy shield over 2 seconds. This is such an amazing thing for Righteous Fire that we weren't able to use because of the clunkiness of the past. So basically what this means is when we use our Dragon-Jooce, this time in conjunction with an Eternal Life Flask, so now when we use our Dragon-Jooce, we get a massive burst of healing. Now this is because if we look at that second mod there, removed life is generated as energy shield, it adds it as regeneration. So all of our modifiers to recovery rate, such as from a belt, from a Watcher's Eye Jewel, or from the Beast Fur Shawl, or in this case from the Soul of Arakaali, boosts the effect of Dragon-Jooce. So while we have 3000 life, we're recovering 6000 energy shield with a perfect gear setup here. And if you were a trickster with a Beast Fur Shawl, then you're looking at 3 times the amount of life. There we have it, Dragon-Jooce juice number 1, increased maximum fire resistance. Juice number 2, chaos damage does not bypass energy shield. Juice number 3, healing. And because of what I described earlier with the Divination Distillate, we're actually able to use Coruscating Elixir in 2 ways. If we use the Life Flask first, followed by the Dragon-Jooce, then the Righteous Fire won't turn off. However, if we use the Dragon-Jooce followed by the Life Flask, Righteous Fire will turn off, giving us the Soul of Arakaali bonus. So Dragon-Jooce effectively then becomes a method for us to turn off our Righteous Fire without using a flask slot which we can't use all the time. So there you have it. There's some interesting uses for Dragon-Jooce. I'll go over this in more detail when I'm using it based on the builds that I do and how it affects them specifically. Next up, just a quick point on a new pair of boots that come from a unique map. The Doryani's Machinarium unique maze map creates a pair of boots designed around the specifications that you select in the map. So this particular pair has a Purity of Fire skill, it adds flat lightning damage to our spells and attacks, and it's on an energy shield base. But you could put it on an armor base or an evasion base, get different purities, different flat damage. There's a lot of options with this. But I just ran the Doryani's Machinarium map and I set it up to get this setup. This gives us level 25 Purity of Fire. Now I know there are better ways to get a level 23 Purity of Fire for that extra max res, but this also essentially gives us a 5 link for an Enlighten. So what you could do is pop in your Discipline, in my case Herald of Purity, and even another aura with Enlighten. And then you'd have 4 auras all affected by Enlighten. It's just a thought. So these boots are actually pretty awesome. Especially for hybrid Righteous Fire where you're also scaling your life a little bit. Alright, And last but certainly not least, we have 6 linking your Righteous Fire. So basically, before we would have Righteous Fire, Efficacy, Elemental Focus, Concentrated Effect is our damage setup, and we'd also have a burning damage in there. But now we're left with very little options in terms of our 6th link. However, maybe Swift Affliction works, but no, it doesn't. It'll affect our Vaal Righteous Fire, but it won't affect our Righteous Fire. So now what we're left with is basically 4 damage supports we can use. But if we wanted to add a 5th damage support, we would have to use Arcane Surge. So we could use Arcane Surge and replace Efficacy for a little bit more damage, but that's not really that great. However, in Delve League, we have been given the option to 6 link our Righteous Fire, or rather put our Righteous Fire in our chest. And that comes in the form of a fossil, which grants the modifier Socketed Gems are supported by level 1 Arcane Surge when used on chests. This fossil is the Aetheric fossil, which gives more caster mods, less attack mods. I used that in conjunction with dense fossils to create this bad boy. And what this essentially means is we now don't lose a link when using Swift Affliction on our Righteous Fire. So now we can put our Righteous Fire in, Efficacy, Elemental Focus, Burning Damage, and then I got less duration because that's what the colors are right now, but then you could put Concentrated Effect or Increased Area Effect in the last slot, giving you 5 damage links for Righteous Fire and not costing you anything but a suffix on your chest, which is whatever. And this would also allow us in an Energy Shield build to use the Vertex or Memory Vault along with Shaper's Touch, which before would have cost us quite a bit of damage, because you need an Essence Crafted pair of gloves or an Essence Crafted helm to do maximum deeps with Righteous Fire. But now that we can 6 link it using the Arcane Surge mod, we have a new option. So that was 6 linking Righteous Fire. And that is it for all of the cool new things you can do with Righteous Fire. So because there's so many cool new things you can do with Righteous Fire, I will be doing 3 Righteous Fire builds in a row, starting with this one, which was a hybrid Righteous Fire Guardian with the option to go low life. Next will be an Occultist, because Occultists have explosions, and explosions are cool, and I just want to try an Occultist because I've never actually done an Occultist before. Lastly, we'll be doing the old Queen of the Forest Trickster again, because that build was fast before, you have access to a lot more recovery rate, and I'd love to see how Dragon-Jooce works on a Trickster. So if you'd like to see those, then hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, then hit that like button. And I'd like to thank you for watching, and good luck, and stay juicy. Dragon-Juicy.